Well, it is December the 6th of the year 2020, and things continue to roll on in a most amazing fashion. We're on the cutting edge tonight of doing something different, which is that Scott has bestowed upon me the opportunity to introduce the show in a rare moment. So welcome to the Ken and Scott Show with a guy named Glenn. Well, welcome. It is our first show in the month of December. We hope you're having a beautiful holiday time in your lives. And now welcome to the show, the stars of our show. It's Ken and Scott. Give them a hand. We have a studio audience here live that are clapping. Audience of two.
I'm expecting a raise with my promotion. I just want you to know. I think my salary should be doubled.
Hold on, let's have a board meeting about that. I approve. Do you, Glenn?
Yes.
All right.
And I think we need to have Ken do it 1 week.
Yes, I'm all for that.
I'm done. That's all I wanted was 1 week to introduce. And I'm envious. I wanted to be a guy named Glenn.
I like that.
Because I'm just Glenn every week. I'm just plain Glenn. But tonight I'm a guy named Glenn. And tonight you're just plain Scott. How's it feel?
I like it. I'm good.
How are you guys?
Doing wonderful.
Terrific. How's it
doing wonderful.
Atlanta is terrific, and I'm going to share this out right now. It was 33 degrees this morning when I woke up.
Wow.
It seems a little cold for Atlanta.
31 here. Man, we have some rock stars with us tonight. We have Ed Roberts.
Hey, Ed.
Janelle.
Are you guys on, by the way?
Yes.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Pamela Aubrey is with us.
Hey,
Curtis.
There is Curtis driving a truck across the world.
Charles Coachman. Scott Ricard.
Say it again. Ken, say it again.
Scott Ricard.
Ricard. He loves his trilling R's.
I love that. Ernest Odell. Did I already say Ernest? I don't know if I did or not. Donovan. Where in the world is Donovan Blanks tonight?
He was in Memphis the other night.
Yeah.
But he doesn't sit still very long.
We have all kinds. Leanne Isaacson.
From Australia.
Good morning, Leanne.
JR is with us. Robert Brooker. It wouldn't be a Sunday night without Robert Brooker.
The gang's all here.
And I heard from Weldon Whitehurst. I got a text message from him a little bit ago.
Oh, good.
I did not return the text message yet. So Weldon, if you're watching, I apologize. Juggling.
But
Donovan's
you're not
down
returning.
the street from me. Wow.
Have you guys met before?
Who?
You and Donovan?
No, we have not.
Well, he's in Columbus. Somebody should buy somebody a cup of Starbucks.
I know. Well, that's still a pretty good trip for me.
Look, we got somebody watching from Indonesia.
Wow.
I saw that.
Isn't that great?
And,
wow.
And my angelic friend, lifelong friend, Rini, is listening with her mother, who is soon to be 99.
Wow.
She'll be 99 in April, and they are listening from Vancouver, BC.
Oh, look.
Weldon's with us.
Hey, Weldon and Susan.
And Weldon, I want to explain something about Ken's behavior. He pulled me aside this week and he said, Bud, because, you know, he knows I'll tell him the truth. He said, am I arrogant enough? And he said, it seems that I should have some on-screen arrogance that maybe I should play hard to get. And I said, I don't know. What do you think you should do? He said, I don't know, maybe not return people's texts as promptly, for example. So just know Ken's doing a little bit of a Hollywood thing.
Yes. If I told you what I was doing before this, you wouldn't even believe me. So It's been a crazy busy day.
Were you out there with your metal detector at Leonardo DiCaprio's beach house?
How did you know?
Well, that's what I would be doing.
That's exactly what I was doing.
Were you going under and in between the pylons and
I was.
seeing if you could find loose chains that people have left there on the beach?
So you nailed it. You nailed it. Wow. You're good, man. Bruce wants to know if I ever met Urban Meyer. We hang out all the time. No, I've never met him.
Hey, Bruce
Great
was
man,
very helpful this morning or last night when we were on. He just said some really nice things.
And I think we would all agree that Ken is just a little more rural than urban.
Yeah, that's true. I love to shop at his clothing store. Rural.
Wow.
Hey, Brian.
Wow.
Hello, Brian.
Say
Merv.
Ken,
We
that's
have
what,
Wanda Ricard Wilson with us.
Ken, that's what you need to say. I haven't met Urban Meyer, but I've met his brother Rural.
I have that. I've always had a difficult time with the word rural.
Well,
rural,
it's that damn double R.
rural. Oh,
Rural.
Or suburban.
Suburban. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. That's way
youngest
easier.
in the family is suburban.
way-
Did you see that Merv is here? Scott, you know Merv.
Yes, I do. Gosh, I missed that till you pointed that out. I'm glad you said that, Glenn.
Merv is our buddy that lives in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
Albuquerque, the most misspelled large city in America. Just random thing. People always want to throw in an LBE, ALBE, or ALBI.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, ALBU, QUERQUE.
Wow.
For those of you who are playing at home that don't like to watch our show without learning a thing or three, that's my contribution for the evening.
Yeah, that's thanks for that.
I have to say this because I don't mean this totally about football. Did anybody see the end of the Colts-Texans game today?
No.
The
Fill us in.
The Texans are driving for the game-winning score. And the announcer had just said, in most situations, what would be best for the Colts is to let the Texans score, and then
To have time on the clock.
to have time on the clock to kick a field goal to tie the game.
Sure.
And then his very next sentence was, but he said, I got to tell you, I played for John Madden, and John Madden is the only coach I ever played for who said, I will never tell the defense to let the other team score because you never know what's going to happen. At that instant, the quarterback fumbled the snap from the center, and the Colts recovered to win the game.
Wow. And what yard line were they on? They were in the red zone.
Yeah, they were like a 12-yard line.
Wow.
And
How fortuitous for the Colt fans.
unbelievable, because the coach earlier, I thought, made a huge mistake because the Colts were up 4. They were at the 17, 18-yard line, 4th and a long yard, and he decided to go for it rather than take the points. And they got jammed, and the Texans took over and were going down to score the touchdown that would put them 3 points ahead. So he got bailed out but I mean, it's something that, you work on in Pop Warner football, the center hiking it to the quarterback. But it was, they were talking later about how, isn't that interesting? You should never give up. I mean, never say, I just thought that was interesting about, John Madden, who I think is one of the great characters in all of sports history and broadcasting history, saying, I will never tell my defense, let the other team score.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's really good. You know who's having a stellar year in the NFL is Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers is kicking butt again, and today they did a dance on the heads of the Philadelphia Eagles. Sorry, Jeffrey. And because they did a dance on them, right now, Dallas is a half game behind Philly and they are a full game behind the Washington football team. I'll try to get used to saying that.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's just weird, but okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's weird.
We're a game out of first place with a 3-8 record.
Crazy. And the Washington football team plays tomorrow against Ken.
Is it the Steelers?
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
So what
So you're-
what about the New York Giants? Did they play today?
They won. They beat Seattle. The Giants beat Seattle in Seattle.
Oh, that's rare.
To me, that's maybe the biggest upset of the year in the NFL
Wow.
with a backup quarterback.
Well, that's not good news for Cowboy fans, but I mean, we're still fighting for first in our minds at 3-8. Who does Dallas play this week? Are they playing the night game tonight?
No,
They're playing the Ravens.
They play the Ravens tomorrow night. Yeah.
It's tomorrow night. That's
Yeah,
right.
because the Steelers game is one of those games that's been moved, and so it kick off at 6:00 Eastern, because I know it's like a 3:00 game here Pacific time. Crazy!
Wow.
What a season! What a season!
Yeah, that
Charles,
game's
right.
been moved a couple of times, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been, and one of the things, one of the things that's a big news out here is with the shutdown in California. Now it looks like two of the California teams are going to play their home games here in Las Vegas in the Raiders Stadium.
Oh my God. Do you remember years ago? I think it was in 93 or 94, the Portland Trailblazers met with the Los Angeles Lakers in Las Vegas. And it was in 94, because it was during the Rodney King riots, all of that stuff over OJ verdict and everything. And we had big riots in Los Angeles, and it was so bad that they deemed it unsafe for the players and the visiting team, which was the Portland Trailblazers. They were stuck in their hotels, and it just seemed very dangerous. So they moved the venue and played the deciding game in the Thomas and Mack Center.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Isn't that what it's called? Thomas and Mack Center?
Yeah.
In Las Vegas.
Yeah. They've got a new stadium now, but then it was. Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God.
There's a little bit of trivia where, and Los Angeles was concerned that in doing so, they would be giving up their home game advantage because it was their home game.
Right.
And they wound up losing the game.
I'd forgotten that.
Yeah. So that goes back. That's old school Portland Trailblazer info. I'm a Lakers fan, diehard. So anything in connection with the Lakers, I love.
He'll never hear this, but my week was made this week because a guy named Kevin Calabro started following him on Twitter. Kevin Calabro was the longtime voice of the Seattle Supersonics.
Yeah.
And he's originally from Indianapolis, but he does play-by-play on a lot of ESPN radio games. And I mean, to me, there's this Mount Rushmore of broadcasters of play-by-play people that, Vin Scully is obviously the first one that goes on there, but Brad Sham would be on there. And I think Kevin Calabro is as good as it gets. And these guys that can paint this picture, and we're not really talking about sports now, it's more communication, how different it is broadcasting for television when you can see the action. We talked about this a little bit with Pat Summerall a couple as opposed to how you have to describe and paint the picture in radio, which is completely different. And that, to me, Vin Scully was, speaking of LA and LA sports,
it's one thing to comment on what they can already see, but it's another to be the facilitator of the imagery that's necessary for the fan to get involved with the, with the event.
Absolutely.
And it's a special skill to sit there a matter of feet away from Brad Sham, an experience that I would love to give to both of you guys, to be sitting just feet away from my bud and listening to him work his magic live is just such an incredible experience.
He's fantastic.
What do you guys want to talk about tonight other than sports?
Thank God. Woo,
Yeah,
I was getting
it
ready to
seemed
do
like- it
Ken,
seemed
welcome
like,
back to the conversation.
and it's another episode of Sports Center Sunday.
Yeah. Woo. Look at the black ball. Look, there's Weldon commenting. Thank you, sweetheart. I have my
Black
little
ball
girl.
above my head. Here, I'll sit up tall and make it go away. No, that's uncomfortable. Here, I can change the shot. How about that? There, Weldon. Is that any better? Is that a little more aesthetically soothing?
That's good. That's
Hey,
good.
Hey, brother Weldon, we are wishing you well, dear. We are wishing you healing
Yeah.
and everything that's good that your body can muster up. Our thoughts are with you, brother. So Weldon's in what, Virginia? Is that where he is?
He is. Yep. Well,
Yeah,
I think that's
he
where
lives
I
near
know it's
Virginia
where
Beach.
he has a place there and in Florida. So I don't know which. I'm assuming he's in Virginia.
Oh, I was not aware of that.
Yeah, he's in the hospital and in need of some miracles, and I don't want, if he wants to type in what he's in there for, he can, but
We'll just send prayers his way, regardless.
yeah, exactly.
You guys make yourselves at home. You can
We are. Thank you.
order out.
Thanks. Good.
Thanks. We are at home.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, you weren't talking to us.
No, I just took a break in the middle of the show to welcome my guests here.
Glenn has
Weldon-
a live studio audience, unlike Scott and I.
It's the first time I've done it other than with Carolyn and my cats. My cats are normally the extent of the audience. But it's a really cool studio. Here, look at this. Look, all the way over yonder is Alyssa. Hey, Alyssa, wave. You're live. Yeah, there she is.
Boy, they
You can see playback. There you are on your screen. So it's got a little bit of a delay, but this room is just too much. It's sprawling, and there's Midtown Atlanta right there. If it can focus a little bit.
Oh.
So this is the top of the hotel. This
Wow.
is it. So they've upgraded me to what they call the Grand Luxury Suite, and it's the best view in the city from their hotel, and it's just monstrous. So I love it. It's such a wonderful place to do the show from, and I'll be teaching here all day and night tomorrow night because I go in early for wardrobe fitting, and then I come back to teach my class. But it's at 19 after every week, isn't it, Scott?
every week. Yes, not just this week, Glenn, but every week at exactly 19 after. We
Yeah.
play a fun game. Ooh, that's just wrong.
Gentlemen, what is yours for the week? Because I'm loaded. I had too many of them. I actually have to choose.
I have the one I already told you about, Glenn.
Well, time to spill the beans to the nation.
So my wife and now my daughter are just huge animal lovers. I'm a carnivore, so
Which means you bark at a carnival. What is that?
I'm kidding. So animals are wonderful. They're nice to have pets, whatever. But anyway, so I walk out. They're getting ready. My wife's getting ready to take my daughter to dance, and I walk out the other day and I tell them, I'm saying, hey, goodbye, and blah blah blah, and be careful. And I look down, and there's this blue tub, like one of those plastic totes that you pack stuff in, and has the plastic lid. And I go, what's that doing sitting there? And my wife says, oh, we have a frog. I said, a frog? What? She said, we have a frog in there. He was in the basement, probably came in through the sump pump or whatever. And I why is he in the box? Is he crippled? What happened? Did something happen to him? Why is he in our house in a box? And she goes, oh, we're going to take him down to the take him down to the Ohio Wildlife Preserve or something in Columbus. That's an hour away. I'm like, why? What? Just put him outside. No, he'll freeze to death. I'm like, it's a frog. He's not going to freeze to death. He'll figure it out. Like, just put him outside. We have a pond over there. Go take him over there. The ducks would love him. Like, just do something with him. But anyway, no, we're going to take him down there. I'm like, whatever. And I said, well, don't leave it on the floor where the dog can get it. Put it somewhere. I said, put it out in the garage. Well, that wasn't good enough either. So she puts it on top of the dryer and leaves. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So I come back in my office. I'm working. I go out there a couple of hours later to get some water. And I look over and I see the tub up on the dryer. And I'm like, and she puts half of the plastic lid covering it and then a baby gate thing that's got the corrugated crisscross, things on. She puts that on top of that, I guess, so air could get down inside the tub. And I'm like, okay. I walk over there and I'm looking down through the corrugated thing to see if I can see this frog, and I see no frog. And I just as I'm raising my head up like this, I look up, and right there, about 6 inches from my face, my nose, is the damn frog sitting on top of the baby gate. It climbed up and, oh, look at that. There's holes up there. I'll just get out. And it's sitting there on top of this and looking at me. And I literally saw it and jumped back and screamed like a little girl because it startled the crap out of me. You aren't expecting to see and it's not a frog. It's a little nasty looking gray toad. Looks like it was left over from the dinosaur era. And I'm like, what in God's name is in our house? So I'm like, I'm not touching that. I'm not getting warts, because you can get warts, I've heard. So I grab,
God.
if they pee on you. So I grab a plastic spoon out of the kitchen. I'm trying to push this thing. It's a tree frog. They have the sticky little feet. So I'm trying to push it down, and it's hanging on. It's literally hanging on by one. I finally get it down in the thing. I slide the lid around and close it, seal it tight. And I'm like, that's a big container that you're in. Hopefully there's enough air. Good luck, bro. That was it. That's my story.
No, the part when she got home, was the frog still alive? Where is the frog?
Yeah, she put it. She ended up putting it in the. I don't know where the frog is.
We'll be back after these words with another episode of Frog Suffocation.
If you saw, oh brother, where art thou?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was absolutely ridiculous how Scott says how I screamed like a little girl. I think I did. Scared I fell back. It's crazy. Anyway, so yeah, that's just wrong. Put it outside. It's a frog.
When you were talking about it, for some reason, there was something at the beginning that made it sound like like you were going in the frog legs direction.
I thought he was going to pull out a frying pan.
It was a tiny little tree toad.
Reminds me of the joke with the pig with a crutch. You know that joke.
Yes, I know that.
I don't.
All at once. Yeah.
I mean, you could have
big like that. You don't want to eat him all at once.
If I tell that will be our viewers. Ooh, that's just wrong.
Tell the joke. I want to hear it now.
Well, Glenn.
Well, you don't typically start with the punchline, but go ahead, Scott. We got nothing to do. I think it's a great joke.
So this reporter is doing a story on farms, and he drives by this one farm. And he goes to interview the farmer, but he looks down. He realizes there's a pig there with a wooden leg. And the reporter says, I don't know much about farming, sir. I've got to ask, why did you make a wooden leg? I mean, why would a pig have a wooden leg? He said, farmer said, man, that's a special pig. He said with his incredible sense of smell, he could tell the house was on fire. So that pig jumped out of the pen, ran up, pushed the door open of the house, ran in, woke up my wife, woke up my kids, realized the baby wasn't out of the house, ran back in the house, took the baby's blanket and dragged the baby out of the house and saved our entire family. And the reporter says, so the pig lost its leg in the fire? Farmer says, no, pig that good, you don't eat it all at once.
That's
So bad.
that's-
That's the worst.
You eat them one hoof at a time.
That's
oh my Lord, have mercy.
That's right. So you,
Robert says, oh, I thought Robert was called his Timonary there. Oh, yeah.
So
We could
what's your ooh? That's just
well,
wrong.
you've heard mine too, but Scott hasn't, and our Sunday nighters haven't. But like I said, I had a few this week that I couldn't help but notice. And the one that really got my attention was that I had a 7:25 a.m. flight to Atlanta from Dallas on Friday of this week. And let me ask Scott this question, Ken, because I've asked you. Scott, when you have a 7:25 flight, where are you at 6:14?
probably walking in the airport or already there.
Correct answer.
Right?
I was already at the gate. And the reason I'm at the gate is because we board 30 minutes before the flight, and I like to travel stress-free. I don't like to be in a hurry when I'm in TSA line. I just like to already be at the gate. God knows I've got plenty I can do. I'm certainly not a thumb twiddler. So while I'm at the gate, I can be returning emails. I can be listening to some important messages. There's a lot of things I can do, but I would already have the travels from my house to the airport behind me. So that's just the way I roll. So I'm at the gate. The flight is to be boarding in about 45 minutes. And I get a text. My phone has a little ding, and I look at it, and it is a text regarding my COVID test from 2 days previously. And they didn't reach me on Thursday, which they're supposed to travel Friday. So I get a text that says, you have an urgent message from such and such a clinic, and you need to contact them about your travels. And I went, that's not, ooh, that's just wrong, because I'm already here. But now, am I not supposed to get on the plane if something was up with the test? And so we called, and they're closed. And I know that I feel fine. I know that I've not only been masked, but I've been double masked everywhere I go, anywhere near people. This is how I've chosen to handle things. And so I, in a confused state, get aboard the plane, where we get into part two, which is that for the first time, Southwest has now sold their middle seats.
Wow.
I've been flying them because their middle seats are not sold. And I have a list because I fly all the time. And so I get on the flight. And this is the first flight I've been on since COVID started that is packed. And I'm going, oh gosh. Well, thank God I am double masked. I'm not only masked, but I wear two of them. Now we cut to the next part of the fun wheel, which is the guy who comes and sits down to me, next to me, sits down and begins coughing, which is always comforting. And then, as if that weren't enough of an attention getter, he decides that pulling down his mask so that he could begin bathing his face. You heard me right. Bathing his face. He has a towel and he's sweating. Oh, great. Great. So he's sweating and begins washing down his face. And I am over here. This is the window, and this is me with my face pressed against the window and with my double mask. And now he decides, as soon as he sat down, to get up and go to the restroom, where he sits and holds up departure for the flight. And then he comes back to sit down, and we are now lifting off. And I know the exact trajectory, whether we lift off to the south or the north. I know that we're going to either bank left to go east if we're headed south, or we're going to bank right to go east if we're lifting off to the north, which we did. And so we bank to the east. We're right over Interstate 20, and all they have to do is just fly right above 20. It takes you straight to Atlanta. And so I know there's no detour. And the weather is not inclement, and all of a sudden the plane begins to bank at what is not a normal angle. It's extreme, and we are almost completely sideways. It's the steepest bank I've ever felt, and they couldn't pull out of it. And the plane is rattling as we're completely like this, and there would be no reason to make that turn. And I'm thinking they are having hydraulic issues. And now I don't know if the airline is going to kill me or if my neighbor in the seat one over is going to. I'm not sure how this is going to go down, but it doesn't feel comfortable at all. And while we're inverted, we now begin to level off a little bit. This is after a full minute of this steep angle, which is way, way too long like that. And I don't know if they're doing a sharp turn because they got issues, but this was not normal. It's not normal at all. And I've flown all over the world. I don't know if they have an emergency and they're trying to get back to the airport very suddenly. I don't know. And the captain comes on. He's one of them good old boys. And he says, I just want to let y'all know that we've hit some turbulence. Well, no kidding. No kidding. We've hit turbulence.
Wow.
He says, we've hit some turbulence. We're looking for some easier air. And they leveled it off within a couple of minutes and people stopped screaming. But that's just wrong. So now I get to Atlanta. Oh, the guy who's coughing and bathing himself decides to get up to go to the bathroom, and something instinctually told me he's going to be in there for a while. He was in the bathroom for 45 minutes.
Oh,
45 minutes, which by the way,
Wow.
I celebrated.
yeah.
I celebrated, but no, I mean, I put a watch on him. He's in there 45 minutes. Then he comes and sits down, pulls his mask down to have bath number 2. He has soaked his
Wow.
towel in the deal. And I'm just in utter disbelief. I have the worst seat on the airplane. And now we get to Atlanta and I'm in no hurry to walk off next to this guy. But I get there and I'm given a notification on my cell phone. I get an email that says, we just want to let you know that everything was fine with your test.
Oh, gee.
I mean, wait a minute. Did you guys hear me? The email said urgent. So let me ask you if this makes sense. Either one of you. Emergency. We just want to let you know everything's fine. That's
so messed
not how you notify someone with the
No.
word urgent. So everything was fine. I did the correct thing to get on the plane. And this is just the company that tests. It's not our show that does this.
Wow.
But oh my gosh, was this some sort of ridiculous trip? And then we went straight from the airport to be tested once again.
Wow.
But that was the trip here
Boy,
before I even got to the hotel.
when did just in case, when did Southwest start doing that?
Selling their middle seats.
Yeah.
I guess it was maybe a week
or
maybe a week ago. And the reason I know this is I flew from Burbank the previous week and there were no middle seats being
yeah.
sold.
Wow.
I
So-
thought that was a quote unquote selling point for Southwest was you're going to, I mean, I know it is for Delta. You're going to be
Well,
safe because
I think it was until the holiday greed kicked in.
I didn't think about that.
I
Yep.
think it's all motivated by holiday greed. But let me go ahead, even though they're my favorite airline, let me let you guys know right now, all of you, that if that's why you've been flying them, at least for December, those middle seats are not available to. They're not blocked off anymore. They're now available for purchase. So you are going to be sucked in. So if you're flying, if it's just something you need to do, I can't encourage you enough. And I don't want to, get into one of these debates over it, but I do want to just say this: since you have to wear a mask anyway, okay, that's non-negotiable. You have to wear the mask to fly. I would encourage all of you to double mask just to give yourself that little bit of extra. And you know what? If it doesn't help you a bit, so be it. But if it does, you'll be damn glad you did.
There is one airline that you don't have to wear a mask on. NetJets.
I don't know what this is.
You can fly private.
Private.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's a little pricier from Dallas to Atlanta.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Spirit encouraged everyone to just cough and hack all the way to your destination and nobody wear anything.
Oh my God.
Spirit, have any of you ever flown on that piece of garbage?
No.
Don't.
I've never flown Spirit, but I've certainly heard enough stories about it.
I didn't buy the ticket, but I had a speaker company that bought me a ticket on Spirit. It was so bad that I told them I will fly back on my own dime.
Oh, that's bad.
No,
Wow.
I mean, I would not. How about this? I would not take their free trip
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. No.
Free was too expensive.
Free was too expensive. What's your? That's just wrong, Scott.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really it's minor. It's just a little irritant. As you know, Tammy went back to Indiana to visit grandkids and parents and that. But she took a test before she went. She wanted everybody to get a test before she got there to make sure that everybody double check, and was going to quarantine once. So she gets there and she quarantines. And the day that she's supposed to see the grandkids, her son tests positive and has to go. Family has to go in 2-week quarantine, so she won't be able to see him. She's going to stay out there, so it extends the trip. But
Wow,
just the craziness of all this, the timing, But you got to do the right thing. You got to play it safe and all that. But the timing of it was inopportune. That the day that they were supposed to finally get together after quarantine is that he works as a pharmacy technician and is just
wow,
very, very good guy and has been very cautious, but just one of those things.
Wow.
Have you read this article about the I think it was a couple that flew to Hawaii, and of course I was thinking of you and Tammy.
Sure.
They flew to Hawaii knowing that they had tested positive.
Oh, wow.
And they landed, this was just this week. And they landed and they were greeted with "Welcome to Hawaii, aloha, and you're going to jail."
No kidding.
Wow.
Serious about it there.
They picked them up at the airport because they got the information that they had both tested positive, and they got on the airplane anyway. Don't know the specifics of how that occurred, but the point is they did know, and admitted to having known, and they flew anyway, which is reckless endangerment.
Sure is.
And so they landed, and their bail, the bond was only posted at $1,000 each. But I will tell you, I'm not a discompassionate man. I'm very compassionate, but I got to tell you, if I were the judge that presided over that, both of them would be steeply fined in a way that would be most memorable. Yeah. I just don't know any other way to do it, because giving someone a warning at that point is accomplishing nothing.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you would do that and risk getting a plane full of people sick like that, then there is something very wrong with you that is very selfish. And we don't live on planet me, folks. We live on planet we, and we share the planet with one another. Unless you're going to live alone and live in a cave and have all of your food delivered at your front door, then we've got to remember that this is planet we, not planet me. And we need to behave accordingly. I mean, I feel very strongly about that. You have a right to do whatever you want to do right up until you are crossing over into someone else's territory.
Oh, they live in Hawaii, Charles says. They're
Oh, is that
Hawaiian
what it was?
residents. Yeah.
Okay. But they were confirmed as COVID positive, Charles, right? Is Charles responding to that?
He probably will.
But
No.
I agree, Glenn, that you got to hurt their wallet, because that's the only way you're going to get through to them.
Yeah, and I wouldn't give somebody like that jail time. I don't think you necessarily jail them, but you do make it hurt in a way where they really grasp that this is not okay.
Yeah.
Ernest just nailed it. If you're sick with anything, don't get on a plane and infect people with it.
Absolutely. This wasn't a comment about COVID specifically.
Right.
It was a comment about being conscientious and courteous and mindful of others.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you ever wonder if the guy said, yeah, I'm sure he did.
Did I ever wonder? I wondered it the entire flight.
Jeez.
You bet. By the way, I think the same thing goes about a bad attitude. Don't get on the plane.
Yeah, right.
Oh, God.
too. If you
Yeah.
got a bad attitude, fly Spirit.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, and I know you're saying that partially in truth, Scott.
Yeah,
But the truth is, if bad attitudes were forbidden to fly, every airline would go out of business
so true.
because there are. I mean, I'm not in a negative state of mind at all tonight, and I seldom slip into such a mood. But I will tell you that there is not a day that goes by. I'm going to quote my dear friend, and I'm not going to tell you her name because I don't want to out her. She might not be comfortable with being quoted by name, but someone who's very dear to me taught me this years ago. She said, Glenn, if breathing weren't automatic, the streets would be full of dead people.
Mm.
And what she was saying is that that's how ill-informed people can't seem to think for themselves to make a choice to breathe. So thank God that's automatic. And it would be nice if common sense were as automatic, as this, as breathing. If common sense were as automatic as breathing, God, what a great world this would be.
Yeah.
Our best to Ed, by the way, Ken.
I wanted to point that out. Yeah.
Oh,
my mom and dad both have it, and my mom's had a cough since the day before Thanksgiving. I talked to her today. She sounds like she's getting better already. My dad is not showing any symptoms, but they're both positive. So
and I did test 2 days ago when I arrived, and I have another test on set tomorrow morning. So it's the nice thing about what they're doing is they're testing so often that they're able to trace. They're able to put timelines on things with people and where things might have been picked up. So that's certainly helpful. So Ed, how are you guys doing? Are you guys coming along okay?
And the asymptomatic part, I think, is part of the scary aspect of this as well. As you guys know, I tested positive twice and was totally asymptomatic, and that was one of the things. I mean, this happened a few months back, but that was one of the things that scared me so much about this is how random it is that you can test, because I could have been out spreading it and not know. I mean, I goodness only knows I would never have gone out or gotten on a plane or anything if I would have known. But if you're feeling good, you don't think that, and that's one of the challenges I think with this is that you can feel good and still be positive.
Right.
Yeah. Well, there's also never mind. I'm not going there. So yeah. I mean, so we can stay in fear and just everybody stay home until somebody says, all right, it's good. China, I mean, your friend Dennis is in China, Glenn. He said they're back. Nobody took a vaccine over there. They're back to business as usual over there and everything's fine.
That's great.
So, yeah. I don't know, man. There's so much information out there. I actually spent about an hour and 10 minutes on the phone yesterday with one of the leading scientists in the world, that this guy has insight to this stuff that we could do 3 shows on and it would blow your mind. But anyway, I think there's hope.
But again,
all right.
Again, Ken, this was much more so about being mindful of others than it was about COVID. I think that there are there's certain courtesies, even the basic. Now let's go back pre-COVID. Let's go back years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
Even just a cough. And I'm not even talking about when you're sick. Just sometimes we cough because we just need to clear our throat. And so when someone needs to just cough, is it not universally understood? And the answer is no, by the way, it's not, that you cover your mouth.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't care if you're sick or not. You don't cough. Here's another little bitty fun fact. Do you know that since I was a child, and nobody taught me this came from the School of Common Sense. I didn't observe somebody doing it. My parents didn't teach me. But if I'm in an enclosed space, the one I'm referring to now is an automobile, So if I'm in a car and I sneeze, the first thing I do because we don't just sneeze, we feel it coming.
Mhm.
We do feel it coming. And usually you have anywhere from a 1 to, I'd say, I've even had sneezes that were like a 10 to 12 second warning where you can feel it rumbling. But usually it's like 4 or 5, oh, here it comes, and you feel it coming. How about this? Here's a game-changing concept. Roll down a friggin' window.
Yeah.
Roll down a window. Because if you've ever put a flashlight next to a human being when they sneeze, consider yourself sprayed upon, my friends,
Absolutely.
because you are filling that car with your aerosolized droplets. Again, this is pre-COVID awareness.
Yeah.
If you feel the need to sneeze, roll down a window and then leave it down so that wind can circulate and we can clear out the space. But that's just a courtesy. Oh, California under lockdown once again? Yes, Charles. When was that effective?
There's what Ed said. They're doing well, cross between flu and cold-like symptoms. Yeah, like my mom didn't lose her sense of taste or smell or any of that. She just has a cough, and it's a bad cough, but it sounds like it's getting better. My sister and her husband and their kids all have it as well. So yeah, it's crazy.
Today, what started, Greg Parton?
He said they test us at work. We've only had 2 cases this whole time. No deaths. We have super strict protocol. Oh, the lockdown started, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
well, we don't start filming until Wednesday. And by that time, I will have had 4 tests in
Wow.
connection with this. So 1 before the flight, and then Friday when I arrived, Monday before I go to wardrobe, which is tomorrow morning, and then Wednesday morning before I actually step in front of camera. So whatever they're trying to catch, they're trying to stay real current with it instead of testing someone and then assuming they're good for weeks at a time.
And there was a question earlier about how do you stay positive when all of that's going on, and I think that's a great question, and Glenn, something that you're such an expert on. But that might be good with all of these new things that we're going through and all these challenges that folks that are watching are facing. How do you stay positive in this time of such upheaval?
First of all, I take it as a very high compliment that you dared to refer to me as an expert on it. That's a huge compliment. I'm very touched by that. I don't know that it's true, but I receive your kind assessment, and I do a tremendous amount of coaching on the art of staying upbeat, and I think it's got a lot. I want to credit a number of key people, but maybe at the top of the list, my faith for one thing. And then also, in terms of people who've inspired me, Stephen Covey, that wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, when he really changed my life when he talked about a preoccupation with your inner sphere of influence, your inner circle, and to think about, well, what can I do and how can I be effective? Because we have a lot of things right now that we don't have any control over. So what we do have is our response. And we always have our response to whatever's going on. There's the thing, and then there's how we feel about the thing, and then there's what we do about what we feel about the thing. And so often it seems to stop at, well, there's this thing, and I'm unhappy about it, and therefore the year is screwed. And so I think of all the things I can be dwelling upon, and Ken and I talked about this last night during a show. Sometimes if you just go, and just that, just stop, and just breathe, because there are times when for all of us, what we've gone through this year is too much. Now, let me clarify. It's too much if your mind tries to address it all at once. You can't do it. So my answer, Ken and Scott, would be to learn the art of compartmentalization so that you can compartmentalize and go, okay, I can be effective here. I'm not able to be effective here, at least not now, at this time. This thing, it's out of my current jurisdiction. So where can I make a difference? Where can I make a profound difference? And how am I going to be most effective? And I'm going to be most effective if I don't try to address it all at once, but rather just slow down and go back to this Will Smith advice of putting down a well-placed brick today. And for me, that's maybe just a noticing of something beautiful. Like right now, tonight, I want to notice our show. I want to notice both of you gentlemen, who I love very much. I want to just notice that. And I want to notice it every week, which I have. Every week since April, I've never taken this Sunday evening show that we do for granted. And then there are other things that I want to begin to notice. And I want to make sure that I'm not obsessing over the thing I'm upset about so much so that it eclipses all of the beautiful things that I could be noticing. Why would I allow 99 things in my life to suffer because I'm so busy noticing the one thing that I'm upset about or obsessed about? I will say that with regard to jobs that have been lost and pains that have been caused courtesy of this, what are we in the 10th month now, starting in the 10th month of this? I get it. And yet at the same time, how much time are we willing to spend feeling badly about it? Because that's the next question. Okay, we know what's going on and we know that nobody likes it. We're all clear on that. However, what are we going to do about it? And this is where I'm so thankful to Ken for having turned me on to Zoom, because otherwise I would be sitting out in my 10th month of complaining about how I lost my business to COVID instead of making an entrepreneurial choice that allowed me to go into a different direction with it. So we understand there are these things that we've lost, but what do you still have that could be reconfigured? What can you birth within you? What can you change within yourself? Because maybe there's a you that has been waiting to express for a very long time, and it's been handcuffed velvetly. So it's got velvet handcuffs on it, and you've been so comfortable that you haven't done anything. And so now life is rattling your cage, and it's bringing discomfort to our lives and saying, what you gonna do? And I think that how we respond to those periods is the thing that makes all the difference in the world. How are we responding to what's happening? It's not about what's happening.
Right. It's true. I agree.
Forgive the long-windedness there.
Here's the short answer, short version of what you just said. Ready? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Because there's way too many things that are beyond our control. This entire situation, not one of us has control over it.
Correct.
We have control over our own actions. We have control over our own lives, but we can't control what some Yahoo does on an airplane headed to Hawaii. And if we, right, and or some other Yahoo that gets stuck in Hawaii.
I don't know where you're going with that.
I'm just playing, but we don't have.
I didn't know my spirit.
But
it took Ken exactly 6 months and 4 days to refer to Scott as a Yahoo.
Yeah.
Oh, Scott knows I love him. But no, I mean, we don't have control over a lot of the, Scott, you didn't have control over that situation. You were stuck. Exactly. And you have to just say, and if you focus, and this is why people get all screwed up. When somebody says, how do you stay positive when everything's going wrong? The first thing out of my mouth is, everything's not going wrong.
Right.
It's
Right.
not. You're out of your mind is the problem. You're looking at the situation in the wrong way. I guarantee you. Let me ask you a question. Can you still talk? Can you read? Can you see? Can you breathe? Are you there's a few things to be grateful for right there, because there's a lot of people that didn't wake up today that no longer have the opportunity to do those things and appreciate those very things. So, it starts with focusing on what we have in our lives that we are grateful for. And the more that we focus on that, instead of, that's why I don't watch the news. I do not watch the news. And I haven't in probably 12, 13 years. Why? I don't care. Well, then you're living with your head in the sand. Fine. I'm a happy ass living with my head in the sand. You can watch all the news you want and stay as miserable as you'd like. I'm not going to. I can go look in other places to find out, what I want to find out about, if I'm even interested in it. So, but to be buried in the news, name the last positive thing that you heard on a news broadcast.
Well, they mentioned that it was your birthday this summer in a broadcast I was listening to. They said today's celebrity birthdays, and they mentioned Ken Walls, and I thought that's pretty cool.
Right.
Am I wrong, Ken?
No, I don't think you are. I can't remember which news station said that, but John's right. Scripture says 365 times, "Be not afraid," in some form or another. If you live in the negativity that's swirling around on the news and across social media platforms, and I mean, you're going to have your year. If it's bad, it's going to get worse. The more that you indulge in all of that negativity, it's GIGO, right? We all know what GIGO means: garbage in, garbage out. And if you're intaking all of that, it's only going to result in you having a miserable existence on this planet.
I thought that GIGO was about being in relationship with a British lizard.
No, that's Geico.
Oh, sorry.
Wrong commercial, Glenn.
Wrong commercial.
I think you're exactly right, and Glenn, you too. It amazes me that people will spend hours, literally hours, every day reading negativity on social media.
Yeah.
And I think social media has contributed beyond what we realize to the negativity in our nation and in our world.
Here.
We are on a diet. There are people, if all I eat are cheeseburgers and fries, I'm probably going to gain weight because I become what goes in.
Yep.
And it's exactly the point that you're making, Ken. I agree 1,000%. If all we do is continue to, have a diet of negativity, not just the news, but social media. People spend hours a day looking at Facebook and looking at Twitter.
Yep.
And absorbing all this negativity, and then they wonder why it's so hard to be positive. But Zig Ziglar talked about this for so long, is that it's harder to be positive than it is to be negative. There's no such thing as a demotivational speaker. Companies didn't hire guys like me to come in and hose everybody down because they were just too excited about going to work.
Absolutely.
There had to be people who would contribute to lift people up, because we have to practice positivity. And man, what you guys said just strikes to the heart of, it's exactly right. But I mean, positivity is a decision, and it is a practice, and it's doing the things that those guys talked about.
And to piggyback on your word usage of practice, yes, it is a practice in that it's a way of life. And I too, as you know, Scott, I'm an inspirational speaker and have been for many, many years. And, on my best day as a speaker, I still see it only as a beginning and nothing more, because the idea that somebody's going to go get well over a weekend, if they practice years of self-sabotage,
Right.
And so I would love it if when someone hears an inspirational talk, if they would allow that to be the beginning instead of deciding that this was the weekend that changed it all and then revert to their traditional ways and then wondering why that's not working for them because it's failed them for years and now it's going to, of course, continue to fail them. So this is where we get this term shelf help, where people buy things and it winds up sitting on the shelf because it can't do you any good being on the shelf unless you're prepared to make a change. So I've never in my life, hand to God, I have never been someone guilty of the hard sell. It's not my style. I don't care for it in others. Therefore, I completely disallow it in me. But I understand also the futility. First of all, the hard sell is annoying for starters. Let's face it, it's annoying. The other thing is it's colossally ineffective because people are going to make a change when they're ready to make a change. And invariably, the timetable that people tend to make the change on seems to be strikingly similar because they seem to all make it at that point in the road, that pivotal line of demarcation where it is going to be more painful to not make a change.
Right.
And that's the key tipping point when people typically change, because if you don't, it's now going to cost you severely not to change. So at that point, they'll throw in the towel and say, well, I guess it's time to make a change. But you're going to have to teach me, show me, guide me, lead me.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to have to be willing to let go of the strategies that have failed you. You're going to have to admit they've been ineffective. I would set exactly 0 time aside to feel poorly. I think that going into shame is one of these things that is one of the biggest wastes of time in our world. How many weeks, months, years are you willing to set aside to be in shame over something? But instead, if you can see it not as good or bad, not as right or wrong, you both heard me talk about this before, but rather see things as they either are effective or they're not. They either work or they don't. And to hold no other opinion about it, because when you realize that something doesn't work, there's no reason to feel shame over that. You just realize that's ineffective. And I can call it what it is and redirect without going through this emotional pipeline of feeling rotten about myself and the world for an extended period of time, which keeps me mired in inaction, which is something that you've spoken a lot to us about in the last few weeks. You were brilliant, by the way, Scott, last week. You're brilliant every week, but I feel like last week you just kicked some serious ass on this show. And Ken and I were both in bow down mode. So thank you.
Well, I had a visitor here in Vegas, and it inspired me, I guess, maybe. But his name was Glenn, by the way.
I thought you were talking about your brother-in-law.
You're too kind.
Didn't your brother-in-law come in?
Oh, he lives here. He lives here in Vegas.
Oh, he just came over to spend Thanksgiving with you.
Yeah, because he's a single guy, and so with Tammy being back at Indiana, he came here and we spent together. But man, by the way, I left you a message. I don't know if you heard, but I was at the M.
Oh yes, I did get your message.
I went by the Glenn Morshower Memorial
table.
The Glenn Morshower Memorial at the M. That's awesome.
But gosh, Glenn, you reminded me. There's a book I think is really overrated, and I've written about this. And the book is Good to Great. There's a lot of things I disagree that's in that book, but the opening line is phenomenal. And it just simply says, good is the enemy of great.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think the previous generations, and I know we have viewers all over the world right now, but particularly for those here in the United States, the previous generations have done such a phenomenal job. And Ken, you said it. I mean, we are so fortunate, but I think sometimes our great fortune has got us to the point that we're accepting the good. We all have a pretty good life. I mean, even if so many things have gone wrong for you, we have it so much better here than in many places in the world. And I worry that the goodness might be a battle for our greatness. And I just, you know, we have to find a way, and we've talked about all the contributing factors of this. You know, it's gotten to the point, whether we're talking about social media or whether we're talking about the mainstream media, they make money from controversy. They make money from negativity, and you follow the money. And I think we have to be willing to individually choose that we're not going to let it be an anchor, that we're not going to let it weight us down, drown us in it. But it's a choice that we have to make. I mean, we have to choose to, you know, turn off the computer or put the phone down. And good grief, you know, it's been funny. I don't go out much, but I go out some, you know, because my cooking really is that bad. But you know, when you go out and you see a couple at a restaurant, and both my late wife and Tammy and I used to, you know, we talk about that a lot, is we'd see an older couple that didn't talk throughout the entire meal. And we would say, please don't let, you know, we will never let that become us. Now I see young couples who have their phone, who don't talk to each other, who don't have and Glenn, it's to your point. I mean, who don't savor that moment. The Warren Zevon was the guy that did Werewolves of London and some other cool songs, wrote some great songs for Linda Ronstadt. And he was dying of cancer. So Dave Letterman brought him on knowing that he would be dead in a few weeks. And Letterman said, is there anything that you would say, given the perspective that you have? And he thought for a minute and he said, savor every sandwich. Wow. I mean, Glenn, that's what you were talking about. I mean, that's it. It's savoring every moment, even those moments that at that time, you know, you might not want to absorb, but there is a lesson in that, or a meaning in that, even the bad moments that we need to absorb.
So what if you depersonalize it? I'm with you on this. What if you depersonalize it and simply think of every moment as a sandwich? I really do mean that. In other words, okay, here is this sandwich that I'm now eating.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm going to find a way to savor even this sandwich and now this one. You know, a philosophy that can help many people that listen to this program is something I've abided by for years, which is small tasks well done.
Yeah.
Small tasks well done. And I know this at least will initially sound corny, but I'm going to tell you, there is no such thing as a task that's too small. So for example, I would list this as small and yet significant. It can begin with something as seemingly inconsequential as tying your shoes. You just tie your shoes, but you start by looking down and notice that they are untied, and that you are the facilitator of the change, because it will be through me that those shoes will be tied. Because I've never seen a pair of shoes tie themselves. And I'm not saying that to be facetious. I really want our audience to consider that every task before you operates the same way. It's currently in the state that it's in, and through you, it will change. So you are the agent, you are the liaison, you are the vehicle through which change is going to be facilitated. And that to me is very empowering. To realize that that thing which is in need of change is going to change, and it's going to change because I am on the scene. It's not arrogant. It's not elitist. It is just a recognition that we have the right to breathe in that level of empowerment, to realize I'm the solution to the problem at hand, and I'm here to do something about it. And the something I'm going to do is not to sit here and complain, because that solves nothing. I'm going to recognize we've got an issue, and I'm here to play my part, folks. I'm here to play my part. And when we do that, it's amazing that that same template from all the way down from tying your shoes to now there is a sink full of dirty dishes. And through me having shown up on the scene, that's going to change. And about 30 minutes from now, these dirty dishes will be a thing of the past, and they will be sparkling, and the counter will be wiped down, and all of that. And that same exact template of intentionality is applied to every single thing in your life. And what happens is you begin to stair step your way to greatness, starting from shoe tying to all of a sudden giving yourself a career in film and television, or a great teacher, or Ken, doing his Grow Live Academy. He cannot speak to other people as the authority that he is until he seriously knows how to convert his untied shoes into tied shoes. And we need to feel good about it.
Which is why I hate the advice when people say, don't sweat the small stuff. I've always hated that advice because, at least in my experience, most of the things that were big things became big things because I failed to sweat the small stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
Agree.
And so I would rather sweat the small stuff so it doesn't become big stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you don't want to tie your shoes, do what I do: buy Crocs.
Yeah, there's that.
I don't own any Crocs.
Fashion plate you.
But
I do hate to tie my shoe. I hate.
But you know what?
Shoes.
Even with Crocs, to play along with your silliness, I love you. But to play along with your silliness, even in the Croc metaphor, you can look down and you can have an ugly, sticky stain on your Crocs. And here's the deal: the Crocs are not going to clean themselves.
That's right.
So isn't it interesting? I've seen people that'll walk around with a disgusting stain or the equivalent on their Crocs, or they have a hole in them, and all it would take you is 20 seconds to get a rag and wet the rag and make it go away. But you have to be intentional about making that stain go away. And if they have a hole in them, you get intentional about it. Instead of bitching about the hole, you throw away the Crocs and you get a new pair of Crocs.
Yeah.
But you've got to just say, good Lord, I seem to have become a great enthusiast of bitching. I seem to have really taken on bitching as a popular sport.
Taking it to an art form, right?
Yeah.
Everybody says Velcro, and I have to agree.
Have either of you gentlemen noticed? Here's a great question. Have you noticed the uncanny tendency for people who complain to never run out of things to complain about?
Right.
No
Never.
complainer has ever phoned up their buddy and said, hey, dude, how are you today? Yeah, no, don't have anything to complain about. Yeah, no, ran completely out last night. Got to the bottom of the barrel. Yeah, it doesn't happen.
Yep.
So complaining, if we don't watch it, complaining becomes a way of life. But so does living well.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so does being happy, but it's achieved formulaically.
And being positive. I mean, again, if you are in the mindset that this is, I'm just being real here, not trying to take anybody's misery away from you, but I've had the best year of my life ever this year. And I can thank COVID for that. So, there are people, however, that probably resent me saying that, and that's okay. You can resent it, but it really does come down to, are you willing to reposition yourself in life? My book, although it's only 74 pages, the subtitle of my book is Turning Pain into Profit. When you step back and go, hey, life is difficult. Scott Peck said that in The Road Less Traveled. First 3 words of the book is life is difficult. And instead of going around complaining about it, and the sooner you accept that there are going to be difficulties in your life. You're not immune to pain. It's going to happen. The Buddhists say I've said this last night, I think, Glenn, my favorite Buddhist saying is that pain in life is inevitable. Suffering is a choice.
There's a choice. Yeah.
And if you're walking around complaining, you're literally, that's a form of suffering. So, you know, instead of, you know, saying, you know, this has been a horrible year. Oh my God, it's been a terrible, horrible, horrible year. And I'm not saying that it hasn't. Maybe there's been some circumstances that have caused this to be a bad year for you. But I can promise you this. I know this, this isn't me pontificating. This is me. This is real life experience. I've been through it, and I've been through it from both directions. And that is, if you want it to get better, you better change the way that you're viewing it. You better look for something positive out of it and then make the necessary adjustments to turn that into a positive existence starting now. And it can happen for anybody, and it can happen right freaking now. You don't have to wait until you wake up tomorrow morning. Do it now.
And your very teaching, Ken, was echoed by the great late Dr. Wayne Dyer, who said this: when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change.
Yep.
It's so true.
Know, and humility. I got to tell you something. I saw somebody, Scott, I know you've told the story before about having dinner with Zig Ziglar. And so the scientist, the world known scientist that I was talking about lives in California and I can't think, it's a suburb of LA, but he was Zig Ziglar's best friend. And he said that that one time he was with Zig at this speaking engagement somewhere at San Francisco or something, or I don't know, but they were staying in this really nice hotel, and the company that hired Zig paid for both rooms. And he's like, and mine was like he said it was like a villa. I mean, it was like a three room deal. It was really super nice, and 2 giant beds in there. And he goes, and I get a knock at the door, and I go over and I answer the door, and there's Zig standing there with his golf clubs and his suitcase. And Zig looks at me and goes, "How's your room?" He goes, "It's beautiful. It's like a little villa in here. There's like 3 rooms and 2 giant beds." And he said, "Well," Zig says, "you mind if I bunk down with you tonight?" And he's like, "Sure. What is there something wrong with your room?" He's like, "Yeah, it's a one of the big villas. It's like 5 or 6 rooms, and it's huge, and it's just me. I don't need all that. What do I need all that for?" He goes, "I don't want that company to spend that kind of money on me. So I'll tell them to take their money back, and I'll bunk down with you."
So that's protection for you.
But that's some, that is also a different era. Zig came from a totally different era and a place of absolute humility. And that's
poverty. Yeah. When he was growing up.
Yeah. But he didn't want that company to spend that kind of money on him. I thought that was,
you know what, that era still exists, Ken.
Yeah, I know.
It still exists. I'll give you an example. With The Resident, the Screen Actors Guild requires that they fly us first class. That's part of our contract. It's a no-brainer. Now, that being said, Dallas, which is where I spend most of my downtime, I'm not in my LA place very often, so I'm usually in Dallas. The commute from Dallas to LA, hello, Daryl, good evening, is 2 hours. And if you catch a tailwind, it's 90 minutes. It was 90 minutes flying over here on Friday.
Yeah.
But it's a 2-hour flight. And so for 2 hours, do I really need to be in first class, which, by the way, involves a longer trek to the airport because it's out at DFW, when Love Field is 10 minutes from our front door? I happen to really love Southwest Airlines, and I'm an A-list flyer there, so I'm first person to get on the plane, which means I get to choose where I want to sit, which will always be a window seat. And so it saves the company money, and I'm the one who told them to do it.
Yeah.
So all these trips, when they owe me first class, I have chosen Southwest because one, I get there just as efficiently and it's close by. I improve my points and it saves them a fortune. And they still can't believe that I don't insist on them flying me first class just because the contract says they have to do it. I'll tell you, being a team player, when you don't only think about you, when you actually stop and think with the producer mindset of what kind of actor would I love to have on my team? I would love to have the kind of actor that said, guys, that's a colossal waste of money. And whatever hotel they've ever given me, I've been grateful. This hotel gave me the upgrade. It's just, they gave it to me without billing the company. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. Tonight, and I'll make this very brief, but tonight when I was dining over at this seafood restaurant that I love, it's my favorite place in Atlanta, I went over for some delicious lobster bisque, and I ate it before my friends got there, about an hour before our dinner. And then when I ordered dinner and asked for the check, she gave me a check for the meal that I had had and left off of it the tea and the lobster bisque. And their lobster bisque is like $10 and the tea is another $3.50 or whatever. And when I brought it to her attention, she just said, I completely forgot about that because it had been an hour ago. And she goes, thank you so much. And she presented it back to me with the original amount that she had charged me. And she looks at me and winks and says, thank you so much. It pays to be honest. And then I, in turn, gave her all of the change and said, it also pays to be nice.
Very
so
Wow.
It wound up being a beautiful two-way street, which you can't experience those things if you're spending all of your time thinking about yourself. So even though I have the
Amen.
right to think about myself with regard to the contract, I'm thinking about from their point of view, and they don't need to put me up here. They put me up here like a king. They already know that I've said, you don't need to do this. I don't mind it. I love it, but it's not necessary. And who am I trying to impress anyway? It's just me. So I feel very similar to the way Zig felt.
Yeah.
Well, for the record, I would not have done what Zig did. So I just, hey, Scott, you got an extra bed in there? No, I would. I'm out on that. Yeah.
What does John Bonzer say here? John has written us a novel.
Scott, you want to
Hi,
read
everybody.
it?
Go ahead and give it a shot, Scott.
Okay. It's my narration since I did here. You know, when I was dating, I hope Tammy didn't tune in just at that moment when I
Yeah, really.
was dating and a woman broke up with me. It broke my heart and tore me up. I realized I couldn't continue like that. So I had an attitude change. I thought about my job, my vacations. Each year when the vacation ended, I felt sad, but I began to think about my next vacation and look forward to it. So I started thinking about my dating the same way. When we broke up, I'd start wondering about my next girlfriend. Was she going to be tall or short, blonde or brunette? Yeah. You know, I talk about that some in my talks. I bet you do too, Glenn. I mean, isn't it something that people typically are happier on their way to Disneyland or Disney World than they are on a trip home?
Yeah, you're talking about anticipation.
Exactly. And they have a goal, right? I mean, they've made all these plans. Well, we're going to, this day we'll go to Space Mountain, and this day we'll go to Epcot, and this day we'll do, so it's very planned out.
Right.
We plan our vacations with more passion and precision than we plan our lives.
Yep.
And if you've got no goal, I mean, it's the old Alice in Wonderland where the Cheshire Cat says, where are you heading? Alice says, I don't know. And he says, then it doesn't matter what road you take. And I think that's the other aspect of the lack of positivity, is that if you don't have direction, if you're we were quoting Zig a lot tonight, what he called a wandering generality rather than a meaningful specific. If we're that, then it does get pretty hard to get excited about anything. It does get pretty hard to be positive. It's hard to be generically positive. I want to be more specifically positive. Yeah, and Jay's exactly right. Sometimes the anticipation is even better than the experience.
Yep.
It's interesting. The North Pole, South Pole difference between, I'm gonna ask you to name the city, the North Pole, South Pole difference between a flight there and a flight from there?
Oh, where I'm sitting right now.
That's it. That's correct. Las Vegas.
That's where you're going.
Man, the difference. I've been on so many flights to Vegas, and it's like, woo, go to Vegas. You know, you can hear the party theme, and man, that is not going on. Nobody goes, woo, we're going back to Dallas. Nobody does that. In fact, they're like, can they just shut the door or what?
When
somebody just shut the door.
I mean, when you live here, like I do like a week out on the road and different hotel every night, you're just beat up and you get on the plane and all I want to do is just kind of close my eyes, have a glass of wine and close my eyes, right? And everybody's like, woo, and South, everybody pull out $1. We're going to do it. Have you been on the Southwest flights? I don't know if they haven't done that for a while, but there's several of them, like from Indianapolis, they used to do, and everybody would pull out $1, and you were supposed to
get the gambling going in midair,
the serial number of the dollar, and so they go up and down with really a air sickness bag, and you $1, you'd write down the last word, and they would pull one of the dollars out, read the serial number, and you got the whole bag of ones. Wow. Which was pretty cool, you know. But when you just want everybody to just I just need my little space right here.
That's like $138 if everybody plays.
Yeah, I mean it's what a great way. John says I used the wrong accent. I don't know what accent I was supposed to use there, John, but I couldn't. Glenn could. I can't do that.
I can see the flight attendant. It's Jay, the weatherman from Tennessee. He's like, okay, we're going to take dollars from everybody. Y'all are so excited. We're in Vegas. We're going to Vegas. I'm going to take everybody's dollar and I'm going to call out your name and we're going to see who wins. Oh my gosh. I have had a lifetime of knowing my direction in life. Always wanted to be on the radio. My brother, who is a year older, is very jealous because he still has no vision of what he wants to do with his life. Wonders why I'm always so happy.
Jay, where are I don't know Jay. Where is Jay on the radio?
Jay is my buddy. He's known as Jay Fox on the air. He's my buddy that's based here. He does nationally syndicated radio out of Dallas.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
I have a real good friend, Jack Fox, was a longtime broadcaster.
Yeah, in fact, Scott, you and Jay, just because you've spent time in the same arena, probably be nice to get to know each other.
Yeah, we'd love to know it.
You know,
look what John says. That's so funny. What's funny is on the Strip, naked women will give you pictures of naked women.
Kept giving me photos of naked women.
Oh, it can get crazy. Living in Vegas though, it is when you're flying back from somewhere heading home.
There. Yep.
It's like, oh my God, everybody's settled.
Just going home.
Yeah.
Don't you imagine people in New Orleans feel the same way during Mardi Gras?
Oh, I'm sure.
And maybe, other times as well. There's a whole den of us Foxes. Jay, I don't know if you know who Jack Fox is, but he was he was on the air a long time at WHAS Louisville, and now he started his own. He got involved in a network marketing group, did incredibly well. But he is the guy that when you're walking through the airport is the voice at every airport that says the white courtesy zone is. He's the guy.
Please, the white zone is for the immediate loading and unloading of passengers only. No parking, please.
Exactly, and that's Jack. And you, oh my gosh, yeah, he's everywhere, and one of the nicest guys on the planet. Donates time. He every day he reads for the blind.
Wow,
donate. Awesome. He's just an amazing, wonderful guy.
That's awesome.
Good things about Jack Fox. So Jay Fox has a leg out because he's the best. We're about out of time here.
It does appear like it. We got markets now that are watching our show more and more. I was tracking some of the Southern California locations this week, including Bellflower, Canoga Park, Garden Grove, Torrance, West Covina, West LA, San Bernardino, North Hollywood, Pasadena, City of Orange, Costa Mesa, Riverside, and Upland, all of which are markets that are growing for us rapidly.
So, oh my God, that is so brilliant. when I was in college, this guy came up to me. I just finished as state FFA president, and this guy came up to me, a wonderful guy. He came up to me, Bob Jenkins, and Bob later became the voice of the Indianapolis 500. But at that time, he was the farm broadcaster for WIRE, Wire Radio in Indianapolis. And he said, I don't have anybody that understands how to do the farm markets on the days I need to take off. It would help me if you would you
their choice?
Yeah, would you be a part-timer at Wire Radio? Well, gosh, yeah, you bet. I mean, a great thing. I'm in college. How great's that? So I did the farm markets. I filled in for Bob a couple of times. And the general manager came in and he said, you sound pretty good. I really like it. He said, we're going to have this opening because the other big station in town, has a traffic helicopter. We would love to put you. Would you like the job to be our traffic helicopter reporter? Now, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I'm not a very good flyer. For all the flying I've done, Glenn, when you described that tilting aircraft,
sharp bank,
seriously, my palms literally started sweat.
Yeah.
I am not a good flyer. And I said, unless you want every traffic report to be, put this thing down.
All right.
You do not want me as your traffic reporter,
No.
because I would have been terrified every moment at work.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that.
What you do in the streets just made me think, good grief, that you would have sounded so fantastic in the KNX Whirlybird.
Yeah, we're flying over the 5 freeway right now. It looks like the traffic going into downtown Los Angeles is going.
Mark Mayfield, one of my great friends, speaker buddy, humorist, used to do this thing about, and on the left, we see traffic backed up on the 405. On the right, you can see it's a clear day over the Grand Canyon. Damn, we are high.
I used to use that same technique in doing my earliest impressions of Willie Nelson. To all the girls I've loved before, who traveled in and out the door.
Oh my God.
All you got to do is go do your helicopter routine and throw in little Willie and you're there. I want to ask a favor of our audience, since we are saying goodnight, and we've never done this, and I didn't even ask my buddies' permission, but I happen to know what both their hearts are about. And I would just like us, no matter what you do or don't believe, if you don't believe, then just sit quietly for like 15 seconds. But I would just like to close with some emotional hand-holding in connection with Weldon and wishing Weldon love and healing, and just to be still and just have some silence that contains in it that healing energy, that faith, that belief in full restoration for you, Weldon. We love you. You matter to us. We are grateful for your friendship. We're grateful for the irreplaceable gift of your time. And please know, brother, that our thoughts are with you. Could we just take like 15 seconds to just send Weldon some loving energy and healing? Thank you guys for joining in on that. And we know that you received that. Well,
Amen.
No, you did. So love you
Love
guys.
you, Weldon. Love you, dude. And accept that healing energy, man. Accept it. Thank you all. Appreciate all of you being here.
Happy December, everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, Glenn, you brought us in, Glenn. You need to take us out. All right.
Yeah.
And that will conclude yet another episode of the Ken and Scott Show with a guy named Glenn. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.